What if I told you that you no longer live in the same reality as before, just haven't you noticed it yet? Yes, they don't want you to know, but the veil has fallen. The signs are there, coincidences that are not coincidences, dreams that seem like messages, and that strange feeling that time no longer works as it used to. You feel it, but you still doubt it. But the truth is simple, your spiritual awakening has already begun, and that changes absolutely everything. It's uncomfortable, I know. After all, no one prepared you to live a planetary transition while continuing to lead a normal life. But deep down, you feel that something bigger is happening. Your intuition is sharper, your heart is restless, and you know that you can no longer live on automatic. This is not madness, it is the call of your divine mission. Now tell me, have you been feeling this too? Comment here with the word awaken if these signs have made sense to you. I want to know how far your perception goes. Have you noticed that something has changed? It's as if life has gained a new layer of meaning, even if you can't explain exactly why. Many already live in the fifth dimension without even realizing it. The veil that once separated the material and spiritual worlds is thinner than ever, and this subtlety has a profound impact. It's as if reality is whispering, there's more than meets the eye. This spiritual awakening does not happen with noise or fireworks. It's silent, almost intimate. A sense that you understand things differently, that you perceive beyond the surface. You know that intuition that always seems to get it right? It is sharper. And this is not by chance, it is the first key to the awakening of consciousness, the one that changes everything without anyone around noticing. For many, this awakening comes at ordinary moments, a morning coffee, an unexpected conversation, or even a sunset that seems to speak to you. It is not about something out of reach, but about seeing the extraordinary in the simple. It is at this moment that deep spirituality ceases to be theory and becomes real experience. That, my friend, is living in a high frequency, even if you still try to rationalize what is happening. Interestingly, the more a person feels this, the more they realize that they are not alone. It is as if there is a silent call, an invitation to something greater. This planetary transition that is so much talked about is not something distant, it starts within you, in your way of perceiving the world. And when that penny drops, then the ascension journey becomes inevitable. And of course, all this brings that strange feeling of, why doesn't anyone talk about this? Well, they don't want you to know. It is easier to keep everyone stuck in what is dense than to make way for this new perception. But those who begin to see, even if timidly, know that there is no turning back. And then, my friend, signs begin to appear. Do you know when something seemingly, by chance, happens and you feel that it wasn't just a coincidence? Well, this is synchronicity. Small signs that seem invisible to most, but that for those who are in spiritual awakening are clear messages. Recurring dreams, repeating numbers, unexpected encounters. None of this is random. It's as if the universe is winking at you, saying, keep going, you're on the way. And make no mistake, these signals are part of a high frequency that few have the courage to recognize. Why courage? Because accepting that there is something beyond what you see breaks everything we have been taught. It's scary, I know. But those who dare to face it realize that these signs are not nonsense, they are the compass for a life more aligned with the divine mission you carry. Want a practical example? The next time something strikes you as oddly coincidental, write it down. A dream that repeats itself, someone who crosses your path at an exact moment, or even that thought that arises for no reason. As you write, you begin to connect the dots and realize that there is a pattern. This is how the awakening of consciousness is strengthened, by paying attention to what seemed invisible. The problem is that, they don't want you to know that. They want you to believe that everything is chance, that life is just routine and that there is nothing beyond what you can touch. But those who live this planetary transition already understand, the signs are real and are there to guide. You just have to be willing to see it. And when you start to see these signs, something incredible happens. That feeling of heaviness, of carrying the world on your back, starts to disappear. It's not that life is perfect, but you start to realize that a lot of what holds you back, in fact, it no longer belongs to you. Have you noticed how certain problems that once consumed you now seem small? It's as if a weight has fallen off your shoulders. This is one of the clearest signs that you are vibrating at a high frequency. What used to take away your sleep, now only causes an, never mind. And it's not neglect, it's that you finally understand that you don't have to carry dramas that aren't yours. This detachment comes quietly. Suddenly, gossip loses its fun, fights seem meaningless, and even that constant fear of the future begins to fade. It's the awakening of consciousness in action. You start to realize that you were trapped in narratives that only drained your energy. When the mind is freed from this density of the third dimension, life gains lightness. Want a simple exercise to feel it even more? Try to spend a whole day without getting involved in any controversy or negative conversation. Notice how your energy changes. It seems little, but that's exactly what strengthens your deep spirituality, choosing where to spend your attention. This is how you learn to keep your frequency high, even when everything around you tries to pull you down. And you know the most curious? People will notice the change. Some will praise your new way, others will find it strange. After all, you don't react like you used to. This can generate discomfort in those who are not yet in this process, but it is a sign that their ascension is happening. The old you no longer fit in the place of before. And of course, all this makes room for something even deeper. Because when you free yourself from what is not yours, there is room to listen to the only voice that really matters, the one that comes from within. A voice that has always been there, but that only now you can hear. Have you noticed that the days seem to fly by? Or, at other times, that a few hours drag on as if they were days? Well, when you start living in the fifth dimension, time no longer has that rigid format that we were taught. It is as if it became elastic, molding itself to your experience. And this is one of the most subtle and powerful signs of the planetary transition. This sensation arises because your consciousness is no longer fully bound to linear time. When you enter states of deep presence, whether it's meditating, talking to someone you love, or simply admiring the sky, time seems to stand still. And, let's face it, who has never lived that magical moment when minutes seem eternal? This is more than a good feeling, it is a glimpse of what it is like to live in another frequency. Do you want to enhance this perception? Try starting your day with 5 minutes of silence. Sit down, take a deep breath, and just watch. It sounds simple, but it's a powerful workout to slow down your mind and realize how time can expand or contract according to your internal state. This is the deep spirituality manifesting itself in your daily life. Of course, not everyone around will understand. Many will say that you're off or traveling too much. But in fact, you're starting to realize that time is a construct, and that when we access heightened states of consciousness, it no longer controls us. It's as if we've come out of the prison of the clock. And when you realize this, something even more powerful happens. That inner voice, previously muffled by the hustle and bustle, begins to speak louder. Because, after all, when time stops being the owner of everything, there is room to listen to who really matters. Have you ever felt that strange feeling that something bigger is calling you? It's not an outside voice, it's not someone's advice, it's something that comes from within. That is the silent call of your spirit. It comes as intuition, that gut feeling that seems to know the answer before you even ask the question. And it's no coincidence, it's your higher self trying to guide your steps. This connection to the higher self becomes more intense as you move away from the confusion of the external world. It's like tuning into a radio. When there's a lot of noise, you can't hear the music, but when you find the right frequency, everything becomes clear. This is true spiritual awakening, to realize that within you there is a reliable guide, far wiser than any other people's opinion. Want a practical exercise to strengthen this? Whenever you are faced with a choice, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, does this bring me closer or further away from the person I want to become? Don't underestimate the answer that comes. It's your intuition talking, that inner compass that never fails. Of course, this voice won't always tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes she'll push you into uncomfortable decisions, ask you to let go of old habits, or face old fears. But it is exactly in this discomfort that ascension lies, leaving the known to embrace what your soul already knows it needs to live. And when you start trusting that voice, something inevitable happens. You realize that not everyone will like your transformation. There are forces that prefer you to stay in the same place. But how to deal with them? It's curious how, when you start to change, it seems that the world around you is agitated. People who once supported you start to question you, old habits try to come back, and even situations, coincidentally, appear to pull you back. Make no mistake, this is no coincidence. There are forces, energies, beliefs, and even relationships that resist your ascension. It's as if the system said, hey, go back to what was safe. These forces can come from outside, but also from within. Who hasn't heard that inner voice saying, you won't make it, or, this isn't for you? That is the resistance trying to keep you in the density of the third dimension. But here's the truth, if you've realized that there's something greater, this phase of awakening consciousness can't be undone. And precisely because of this, these forces intensify, because they know that you are escaping them. Want to know how to deal with it? Create small anchors of energetic protection in your day. It can be something as simple as saying a deep prayer when you wake up, setting aside a few minutes of silence before making big decisions, or even carrying an object that reminds you of your divine mission. These practices are like invisible walls that help you keep your frequency high. And make no mistake, some of this resistance will come from people close to you. Friends or family members may, without realizing it, try to bring you back to the pattern you are leaving. This may hurt, but remember, it's not about them, it's about you taking over your planetary transition. It's as if life tests you, are you really ready to move on? And when you understand this, you realize something even deeper, that this fight is not to stop you, but to strengthen you. Because only those who face these forces are really ready for the transformation that comes next. Look back for a moment. Can you recognize the person you were 1, 2, or 3 years ago? Probably not completely. And do you know why? Because you're no longer that old version. This silent transformation, of habits, perceptions, and even your reactions, is living proof that ascension is happening in you. It is as if you have gone through a deep cleansing, leaving behind everything that no longer matches your new frequency. The changes are not only internal. You begin to notice that even your body responds differently. Foods you once loved no longer look good, charged environments seem to suffocate you, and people with heavy energy tire you out easily. This is not frills, it is your consciousness adapting to this deep spirituality that now guides your steps. Want a practical way to observe this transformation? Keep a record of your reactions. Write down how you deal with situations that used to make you mad. Gradually, you will realize that impulsive responses have given way to more conscious choices. It's a simple but powerful exercise to see how your spiritual awakening is solidifying. And, of course, this can be scary. After all, change means leaving behind the comfort zone, and sometimes even people who seemed essential in your life. But this detachment is natural when you understand that your divine mission requires lightness and alignment. You can't take everything and everyone to the next level. And it is exactly at this point that the question arises, what now? What do I do with this new version of me? The answer is closer than you think. Getting here was not for nothing. If you feel that you already live in the fifth dimension, it is because something greater has brought you to that point. But what now? What to do with this new consciousness? It is time to anchor this transformation in everyday life. And it's not about big rituals, it starts with simple attitudes. Cultivate inner silence, seek moments of deep connection, and remind yourself daily of your divine mission. One powerful practice is deep prayer. Not that mechanical, repeated without feeling, but the one that comes out of the soul. Take a few minutes each day to talk to the divine, in your own way. This connection strengthens your energy field and helps you keep the frequency high even when everything around you tries to pull you down. Another step is to take care of your energy as you take care of your body. Carefully choose the places you frequent, the content you consume, and the people you share your time with. Remember, you are now in a phase of planetary transition and you need to nourish your soul with what strengthens you, not with what drains you. And, perhaps most importantly, spread light. It doesn't have to be preaching anything or trying to convince others. Sometimes it's just listening to someone with true presence, helping those in need, or sharing a word that inspires. When you live your awakening of consciousness, you naturally become a beacon for those who are still lost in density. And believe me, this is just the beginning. Because when you take on this new version of yourself, you realize that the journey never ends, and that there will always be more to discover in this extraordinary experience we call living. And now that you know that you are already living this new reality, what are you going to do with it? Will you continue to ignore the signs or will you take on your transformation once and for all? Because, look, the awakening of consciousness is not an end, it is an invitation. An invitation to live with more purpose, more presence and more light. So tell me, what are you going to do differently from today? What decision do you need to make to honor this new version of yourself? Answer here in the comments. I want to see who is really ready for this journey. And if you want to continue learning how to navigate this planetary transition and strengthen your deep spirituality, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. There's a lot more they don't want you to know, and I'll show you.